Zenthi drifted in and out of consciousness, catching snippets of urgent shouts and blaring alarms. His head pounded from where the human had struck him. As his faculties slowly returned, he realized he was still sprawled on the scout ship bridge. Groggily raising his head, he viewed the aftermath of the shocking human attack. Bodies of the Lithurian crew lay tossed about like broken dolls, oozing blue blood. Sparks erupted from exposed circuit panels, lights flickering erratically. The bridge was a scene of utter carnage. Dragging himself upright, Zenthi tapped at the still-functioning command console with trembling digits. Life signs detected no other living crew aboard. Short-range sensors tracked the scout ship, now coursing on a direct heading for the inner Lithurian system. Somehow the vengeful humans had seized control and set course for the very heart of their civilization. Cold fear trickled down Zenthi's membranes. He had to warn his people. Fighting waves of nausea, he activated the comm systems. Mayday, Mayday. This is Scout Ship Lithurian Pride. We have been boarded and hijacked by hostile humans. They are navigating this vessel directly into our occupied territories. For several heartbeats, only the crackle of empty space answered his hail. Then finally a stern voice responded. Lithurian Pride, this is Dreadnought Talon. You claim humans have seized your ship. Yes, Zenthi rasped urgently. The same humans we attempted to eliminate. But they have used some advanced genetic alterations to transform themselves into unstoppable killing machines. My entire crew was slaughtered in moments. He could hear the disbelief in the other captain's tone. Humans? Killing machines? Surely you exaggerate. What primitive beasts could threaten us so? Zenthi slammed a fist onto the still wet blood pooling on his console. Do not underestimate them. I have witnessed these monsters shred through trained soldiers without hesitation. You must intercept my ship before they penetrate any deeper into our territory. Understood. Hold your present course. We are dispatching Cruiser Wing Zeta to intercept. The comm line clicked off, leaving Zenthi alone again with the creeping darkness. He ran a scan on his stolen ship's trajectory. Again. They were running straight towards the second planet and its orbital shipyards. If the humans managed to hijack or cripple those facilities. Shuddering, Zenthi activated the emergency medical stasis chamber, hidden under a panel at his feet. Gingerly climbing inside the cramped pod, he keyed the activation sequence and felt chilling cryogenic gases wash over his prone form. As his metabolism slowed to a faint whisper, Zenthi's last conscious thought was a grim realization. The humans had adapted themselves somehow into living weapons in response to his species' unprovoked extermination attempt. And now the Lithurians would witness those lethal consequences firsthand. His people had sown the wind, and the whirlwind fast approached. Cruiser Wing Zeta consisted of 6 heavy capital ships moving in tight formation. As per standard intercept protocols, they emerged from hyperspace slightly ahead of the reported human-controlled scout ship's trajectory, their guns and shields powered up to maximum capacity, ready to swat this primitive threat from space. What scanned on their sensors instead was a battered mid-sized scout, cruising swift and straight as an arrow. Alarms blared as another 3 small vessels blinked onto their scans, angling onto attack runs. Raised deflectors, bark Captain Vian, target lead hostile ship and open fire. Right lances of pure energy seared forth from the cruisers towards the rapidly closing scout. But at the last instant it juked downwards, avoiding the deadly salvo. The other 3 strange craft swooped in like metallic raptors, hammering the cruisers with plasma shots and torpedoes. Explosions flared along bulky hulls as screens struggled to deflect this barrage from all sides. Evasive action, Vian roared. All fighters launch and engage hostiles. He gripped his command chair grimly as his veteran crew leapt to obey. How had a handful of small human ships gotten so deep into their space? And more pressingly, how were they fighting with such ruthless coordination against his elite military detachment? Those questions died swiftly as the 4 human vessels utterly refused to be destroyed or driven off. Sleek one-man fighters catapulted from Vian's hangars, but were swiftly blown from space by precise plasma shots. Missiles and torpedoes ran out quickly, but still the enemy pressed closer. Within minutes, 3 great cruisers had been reduced to scattered debris under the savage assault. When the last human torpedo finally detonated against the bridge of his beloved flagship, Captain Vian had just enough time for horror to dawn as he recognized military precision and strategy, not animal fury. Then fire took him into oblivion. High Admiral Zar monitored the tactical displays broodingly as alerts trickled in from the embattled Zeta Intercept Force. How had the humans mustered such an effective attack fleet from their hiding places? And where had they acquired the sheer discipline to combat elite Lithurian naval detachments with such success? Every report defied logic. He watched the blips representing Zeta Cruiser Wing flicker and go ominously dark one by one. Scans indicated the main human formation was continuing its relentless push in system. Utterly undeterred by mounting losses, cold certainty gripped Zar's hearts. These beasts had to be halted now. Keying the priority comms, he issued an Imperial command order to all fleet flagships in adjacent sectors. Mobilize all available capital ships for immediate jump to Inter-System Defense Station Xanthus. We prepare for incursion response. Coded acknowledgments came back swiftly from a dozen battle groups across local space. The might of the entire 7th Imperial Fleet would muster at Xanthus base to repel this human infestation. Zar nodded, membrane folds smoothing in satisfaction. No matter the adaptive tricks the humans had used so far, no primitive rabble could overcome the combined force about to be arrayed against them. Mara stood gripping the stolen scout cruiser's command console, eyes burning with relentless intensity. The strength spliced into her frame kept exhaustion at bay despite days of constant battle readiness. Her augmented nerves no longer even registered the absence of gravity, life support fluctuations, or discomfort from her uniform's filth. She spared a glance to where a pair of her makeshift strike team manned unfamiliar alien stations. Their faces showed equal focus and drive. Humans reforged by trauma into living vengeance missiles, committed to striking for all their lost kin. Behind their vessel towed a ragtag flotilla of captured Lithurian ships, now slave to its control systems, forced into a battering ram pointed straight at the enemy inner homeworlds. Since boarding this luckless scout ship, seeking oblivion or justice, Mara and her fellow gene-twisted survivors had carved a gruesome path of destruction across the stars for their nemesis to discover. No quarter had been asked or given. Lithurian forces sent reeling by the savagery and resolve of their prey, turned hunter. From Mara's perspective, they could not pay enough for humanity's cold genocide, their unarmed billions who had pleaded uselessly for mercy. A proximity alert snapped her glandular reverie. Sensors displayed a new wave of hyperspace wakes lancing into nearby space, and kept counting as more dire mass readings arrived. The forward view screens finally resolved the last cold truth. A whole fleet group of immense dreadnoughts and destroyers arrayed directly in their path. Mara's teeth drew back, the deck plates groaning under white-knuckled fingers. Even her vengeance-fueled determination quailed before the sheer scale of devastation suspended before them in space. Devastation now turning ponderously to greet its oncoming planet-side tormentors. In the rush of their successes, she had let fury blind her to reality's harsh realities. For all their risky transformations and weaponized ships, she gazed upon an armada against which a score of human fleets would be outmatched and scythed down, with all merely to nullify barely 2 handfuls of unlooked-for defiance. Her jaw clenched until molars cracked audibly in the stillness. So be it. Even if today was mankind's true ending, she would cry havoc and loose slaughter until her final atom was spent. Let the Lithurian masters threaten them with 1,000,000 guns. She would beard them regardless in their billion-eyed fortress. Mara opened a broadcast channel on all frequencies, uncertainty and fear burned away by her realization. She stood to greet planet killers on behalf of an already murdered people, and so would make an accounting lest they seek the same fate. Leaders of the Lithurian domain, attend my words, she cried fiercely. With few helpless humans, you so callously condemned, have now bloodied your doorstep through our own efforts. Accept that we choose not to fade, that our deaths come dearly bought, and know that we could be so much more together if we but conquered fear and mistrust separating our kinds. But if you yet demand extermination as your diplomacy, face now that relentless hell scourge which you have yourselves awakened. Her primal challenge echoed as the captured ships surged forward on jets of atomic fire. A handful of tortured humans racing to grapple troops beyond counting for unspeakable stakes. towards the gulf of space where dream and reality must shortly collide. And behind them drifted an empty Lithurian scout craft, still bearing mute witness within its frosted tomb of solitude.